Welcome to The Explainer. Today we have this absolutely incredible story about a daughter's love. A love so fierce, it literally went to war with the underworld itself. So let's just start with a question for you. How far would you really go to save someone you love? I mean, what would you be willing to give up? Your money? Your whole future? What if? What if you had to actually face down hell itself? Sounds pretty impossible, right? Well, for the young woman in our story, the answer was surprisingly simple. Okay, so our story kicks off way back in this kind of mythical era. It's known as the time of a Buddha called the Pure Lotus Eye Tathagata. And it's in this age that we meet our main character, a young woman named Guangmu. Her name actually means bright eyes, which is just perfect because it totally reflects her kind and, well, perceptive soul. And wow, when you put her next to her mom, the contrast is just stark. Guangmu was super devout. She believed all life was sacred. But her mother, Yu-Di Li, complete opposite. She was all about earthly pleasures, totally laughed at the idea of karma, and she loved her seafood, especially, and this is important, fish roe. Now, you have to understand, this wasn't just some lifestyle disagreement. For Guangmu, this was a source of constant, genuine terror. She looked at those tiny fish eggs and saw individual lives. So a single meal for her mom, that was racking up a karmic debt of thousands. She would plead with her to stop, but her mom would just kind of wave it all away like it was nothing. And then the very thing Guangmu feared happened. Despite all her prayers, her mother got really sick, and then she was gone. Guangmu was just heartbroken, of course, but that grief was almost immediately swallowed up by this cold, chilling dread. The question wasn't just, where is she, but, oh no, where is she? So she starts having these awful nightmares. She keeps hearing her mother crying out for help from some deep, dark place. And right then, she knew she couldn't just sit there and grieve. No way. She had to find out what happened to her. And that love, that worry, it turned into a plan. And fast. She literally sold everything the family owned. All of it. Just to buy the absolute finest offerings for a holy man. An arhat. This was a sage who could supposedly see into other realms. And she went to him with just one single, desperate question on her mind. The arhat, seeing how devoted she was, agreed to help. He goes into this deep meditation, and when he finally comes out of it, his face says it all. It's grave. He found her mother all right. And the news was devastating. He laid out the grim reality for her. All that karma from the thousands and thousands of lives she consumed. You combine that with her total disbelief in any of it, and it acted like a kind of spiritual gravity. It just pulled her soul straight down into one of the worst realms imaginable. But here's the thing, hearing this news, it didn't break her. It did the opposite. It lit a fire in her. That despair just transformed into this rock-solid resolve. She wasn't just trying to find her mother anymore. Oh no. She was going to get her back. So she begs the Arhat, there has to be a way. Tell me what to do. And he tells her, look, normal methods aren't going to cut it. Her only hope is an act of pure, focused devotion. Something so sincere it could literally create a miracle. His instructions were specific. Get an image of that Buddha, the pure lotus eye Tathagata, and then chant his name with every single fiber of your being. So Guangmu goes home and does exactly that. She basically locks herself away. She's chanting day and night. She forgets to eat, she forgets to sleep. All of her love, all of her sorrow, it all just melts into this one continuous prayer. And then her consciousness kind of slips its leash. It leaves her body and she finds herself somewhere else entirely. Imagine this. She's suddenly standing on the shore of this huge black ocean. But the water, it's boiling. And the waves? They're not water. They're made of countless writhing bodies being torn apart by these monstrous iron-beaked beasts. The sky above is blood red, and the air is just thick with screams. Yeah, she had arrived at the very edge of hell. And then this fearsome-looking ghost king, basically a guardian of this realm, he comes up to her, but he sees this light around her, the protection of the Buddha from her prayers. And he actually bows. He's respectful. And then he confirms her absolute worst fear. Her mother isn't just in hell. She's in the worst part of this truly terrible place. He tells her her mother, Yu-Di Li, was sent to a place called Avicii Hell. Now, that name, it literally means uninterrupted. And that's because the suffering there never, ever stops. Not for a single second. It is the deepest, most agonizing part of hell you can possibly imagine. Okay, so this right here. This is the turning point of the entire story. As she's staring into that abyss of suffering, something inside of her just shifts. She doesn't just see her mother anymore. She looks out and sees that every single screaming soul in that boiling ocean was once someone's mother or someone's child, and her personal grief for just one person, it just explodes. It becomes this overwhelming compassion for every single one of them. So, looking out at this endless sea of pain, she raises her head to that blood-red sky, and she makes a vow. And listen to this vow. It is so huge, so incredibly selfless. It was powerful enough to shake the foundations of reality. She promises that she will not rest. She won't even accept her own enlightenment until every single one of those beings is saved from suffering. And that vow, a vow that started with the daughter's love for her mom, but was forged into this universal compassion, well, that changed everything. The sheer power of a promise that selfless was about to create the miracle she was hoping for. And sure enough, soon after, the Buddha appears to her in a vision. He tells her that the incredible spiritual merit, the power generated by that massive vow, it had instantly yanked her mother out of Avicii Hell. Now, her mom still had some karmic debts to clear, but she was on the path to liberation now, all because of her daughter's incredible sacrifice. So you'd think that's the end of the story, right? Mother saved, happily ever after. But for Guangmu, no. Rescuing her mom wasn't the end of her journey. It was just the beginning of her real mission. You see, her love had totally transformed. It started as this laser-focused love for just one person, her mom, but it grew into this huge vow for all suffering beings. And that vow, that became her eternal mission. For countless lifetimes after this, she stuck to that promise, willingly going back down into the darkest places to help guide other souls out. And that young girl, Guangmu, the one who literally challenged hell itself for her mother, she is known today as Kshitigarbha Bodhisattva. She's one of the most revered figures in Mahayana Buddhism, known forever as the Great Bodhisattva of the Vow. What an incredible journey. So that kind of brings us back to where we started. What does an ancient story like this, about such profound empathy, a love that started with one person and grew to embrace literally everyone? What can that teach us in our world today about our own capacity for compassion? It's a pretty powerful question to think about, isn't it?